All right. We'll start off with the minutes from the October 30th, 2017 meeting. Have a chance or had a chance to look over those. We'll take a motion to approve those. Motion to approve, Chairman. I have a motion to approve the October 30th meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any questions or discussions on that? Hearing none. Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right. We got Ms. Jennifer Ivey from the Madison Library. If you'd like to go ahead and come forward, please.
Thank you very much for having me here tonight. Sorry about my voice. There's a lot of stuff in the report from last quarter, which I think y'all all have now. I'll just hit the highlights. From July to September 2017, we had 24,000 visits to the library and 24,400 materials checked out. So those were close to equal. Our adult programming highlights, we had 50 programs for adults with 537 in attendance. So those were Senior Citizens Day, which we always have on August 21st, which was the same day as the eclipse, so that was fun. I'll get to that later. We had live music from the Dixieland Five, which is an Athens-based country jazz type band. Local author Terry Kay spoke to the Friends meeting last month on the 22nd, and I think we had close to 50 people at that, so that was very popular. Upcoming this Saturday is Veterans Day, and we'll be having an appreciation tea for veterans on 11/11 at 11 a.m. So if anybody's a veteran or just wants to come give their thanks, that we'll be doing that at the library this Saturday. Our youth programming highlights, we had 90 programs with 2,124 in attendance. Some of this is our summer reading program numbers, but 37 of those programs were done as outreach, so when our children's specialist, Carly Galorn, goes to churches and Head Start and schools and daycare centers to give library services. So our eclipse viewing party was the biggest thing we had in August. We had 148 people there, and I had 100 pairs of glasses. And there were no riots. That was good. I think everybody had a really good time. All the food was gone, so, and then everybody stayed outside in the parking lot and watched the eclipse, and then when it was over, they immediately left. So, in September, we had Madison County Schools Family Night on September 21st. This is the biggest one that we've had in our 3 years of having it. Our door count for the entire day was 1,424. And we fed 300 hot dogs to kids that night. I just estimated attendance at 400 because it was hard to get a good, accurate count. We had 3 fire departments represented with fire trucks and firefighters in their gear. Kids got to try on the gear, so that was really cool. Smokey the Bear and Sparky the Fire Dog were both there for photo opportunities. All the school district media specialists were there, and kids who came from their schools got a special prize from their school for going. Reed Rover was there, and we had guest readers from the Sheriff's Office, and Lee was there reading to kids too. So a lot of community involvement, which I appreciate a lot. That program is always done in September because September is Library Card Sign-Up Month, so it's to raise awareness and get people into the library to get their library cards. That's why we hold that event in September. In September, we issued 63 library cards for the whole month. 38 of those cards were issued on September 21st when we had family night. So for comparison, in August, we gave out 35 library cards for the whole month. So in one day in September, we did more than the whole month of August. So that was a good deal.
I got one.
Yeah, that's right, you did. For library card sign-up month, if you get your very first card in September, you get a prize, and the prize is a fair ticket to the Madison County Fair. Those are donated by the Comer Lions Club, so we appreciate their support too. Some of these are old now because we're getting into the next quarter, but last Saturday we had a Teen Kitten Snuggle Party in partnership with Madison Oakland Animal Shelter. This was me trying to find ways to get teens to come to the library. And it worked. We had 6 kids there, which was 4 more than I expected because I brought both of mine. The animal shelter had 3 cats that they could bring, or 3 kittens that were able to leave the shelter and were ready for adoption. They've been fixed and had their shots. And I think that it was good publicity for both the library and the animal shelter. No cats were adopted, but kids came to the library for it. And we posted a lot of pictures on Facebook. The animal shelter shared them to their Facebook page. So a lot of people like that. So that was good. Other news, the library was awarded a Vibrant Communities grant from the Georgia Council for the Arts again for fiscal year 2018. I named it Ancient Arts and Timeless Tales at your library, and we're going to have storytellers and calligraphy classes, and a musical group, Night Song, is already scheduled to perform December 3rd at 3 p.m. That's a Sunday afternoon, and Night Song is an a cappella group in Athens, and they do like Shakespearean sonnets in song, and they dress like from the time period, so it's really cool. I have a few staff changes. One of our part-time employees, Nicole Adams, received a full scholarship to a PhD program and has moved to the Boston area. To fill her slot, we've hired Leslie Harmon, who's a retired school teacher, so we have a new employee, and our computer specialist, Elisa Clater, has given notice of retirement, which will happen in February. Staff training is listed, and our booth at the Madison County Fair won a 3rd place ribbon. And then there's pictures on the back of the thing. Do you have any questions for me about library events or anything coming up?
Is Mike Moak teaching calligraphy now?
He will be teaching the calligraphy class. The grant-funded classes, he will be teaching those, and all the supplies will be provided by the grant. He does teach a class once a month that people have to bring their own
Is he usually
supplies.
on Sunday?
I think it's the 2nd Sunday, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So, any other questions for me? Thank you.
Good employee to live with.
Yes, I think so too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, our chairman's report, we really don't have anything new to report on that tonight.
I got a question on last year's chairman report, if you're finished.
I am.
Have you had a reply from on the possibility of doing an audit and the...
Right, I wouldn't anticipate an audit. I had a chance to speak with both our tax assessor for our chief appraiser and our tax commissioner, and as part of their the process and protocol they go through to submit our tax digest, there is at the state level, before they approve our digest, they actually do sampling or sampled property assessments. So they, and it's at their choice. They do it, and it is part of their approval of our digest. And as such, they consider that if there's any discrepancies or if there's any reason to perform anything, they would make a recommendation or require it at that point.
But they don't realize, I'm sure, how many discrepancies there is in the county. And I get them daily. I notice we've got some information here that somebody's asking for some information on, not on this, but in my opinion, things are in a mess down there, and something needs to be done.
Well, I can tell you, being here today, we have not seen nor heard. There have been some that even since we last spoke, there were 2 or 3 that were large discrepancies that have been resolved, and but beyond that, we really have not seen the number of calls or complaints that pass the appeal process, though. So,
okay.
To the hearing and actions on rezone matters, special use permits, and I see Mr. Matthews, and I'm assuming Linda Fortson had a son that underwent some surgery this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm flying solo, my wingman, and
we have all the confidence in the world.
so if you have questions, make sure they're not too difficult.
Okay, go
Good
ahead.
evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. We have 5 rezone requests this evening and 6 amendments to our zoning ordinances. First rezone request is for Mariella Espinoza. She's requesting to rezone her 2.3-acre property from R2 to RR to have farm animals, specifically, I believe, it's goats. The property is located at 265 Stone Mill Run on map 15, parcel 30 in District 3. The recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission was 5-1 to recommend approval of this rezone request.
Okay, is there anybody here that would like to speak in favor of the zoning request? to speak in favor of that? Anybody? You don't have to. Is there anybody here perhaps that would like to speak in opposition to it? I see none. We'll always give you one last shot as the petitioner. If you want to make any comment at all, you have that opportunity. If you'd like to say anything, if not, we'll move to a vote.
Chairman, I do have a couple of questions I'd like to ask. I don't know if you want.
I've got one.
Let's do that now. After a motion.
Typically, we'll take the motion in a second, and then we'll have a discussion period, so just, whatever the motion is, if you want to challenge that or whatever, so.
I move that we make the rezone request from R2 to RR.
Okay, I have a motion to rezone 2.3 acres from R2 to RR. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second. And now we'll open it up for discussion.
I was actually wondering, and Lamar, you might know all these answers, I might not have to ask Mrs. Espinosa about it, I don't want to put her on the spot. I was wondering, is the goats will all be for the personal use of the owner of the home or the property?
Yes, sir.
It's all going to be personal use, okay, because it's got to be personal use.
Yes, sir.
And I wanted to make sure she knows if we do approve this, that per our code, it's got to be used for your own consumption, not for sales purposes. No animals can run free. Okay, they must all be contained within a structure, pen, or fence, and all structures housing permitted livestock should not be closer than 50 feet from any common property line. So make sure if we do pass this that everything's got to be in a fence or a pen or a structure. It's got to be those structures have to be 50 feet off of any common property line. I'll be more than happy to, if we do this, I'll be checking up on you to make sure that's the case. So,
And it was discuss those items.
and you said it was 6-1 to approve?
5-1.
5-1. What
Recommend approval.
did one person say why they? No. Okay, just curious. That's all.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll go ahead and proceed with the vote. Again, the vote is to approve the rezone of the 2.3 acres from R2 to RR. Commissioner Strickland?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought we were gonna have a little discussion, I didn't know. Okay,
I can take it back. Go
okay,
ahead.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm just a little concerned to have goats on 2.3 acres.
I totally agree with you. That's why
I
I made
mean,
sure she knows.
I have a little bit more acreage in my subdivision, and I am very leery of approving that. So, that's,
No, I understand,
Yeah.
Teresa, I understand. And I looked at it too, and I was thinking around it she had some more R1, but
There's
here it's
R1.
She's got to the north she's got an RR, south she's got an A2, an RR, and an R1. She does have one over there. That's over by, she's over by Seagraves Lake.
I know, yeah.
And so it is kind of, and if you look at our comprehensive plan, she does kind of fit in there for that. Now, she's gonna have to make sure she got those setbacks. And I hope, and my opinion is, I hope the setbacks make sure that the neighbors are taken care of and all that stuff too, so, but I do see what you're talking about.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Okay, again. We have a motion for rezone 2.3 acres from R2 to RR. Commissioner Strickland?
Yes.
No.
No.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so that takes the rezone on number one. Lamar, would you like to turn on the second rezone?
So the second rezone request, Sarah Bennett is requesting to rezone her 4.56 acre parcel from A2 to RR for an additional home site. Property is located at 1476 Sailors Road on map 14, parcel 14 in District 1. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended 7-0 to the Board of Commissioners for approval, 7-0.
Yeah, I remember these, they were back in August, weren't
At this time, is there anybody here that would like to speak in favor of this rezone from A2 to RR? Anybody at all? Is there anybody here that might speak in opposition to the rezone? Going once, going twice, we'll ask if there's anybody that would like to speak in the affirmative of the rezone. Okay, we'll close that portion of the meeting. We'll come back to the business meeting here. The motion would be to approve a rezone of 4.56 acres from A2 to RR.
So moved, Chairman.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the rezone of the 4.5 acre parcel from A2 to RR. Any discussion, any questions on this rezone? Any discussion at all? Okay. Motions to approve, the vote goes to Commissioner Bettis.
Yes.
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 Okay, very good.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, the next three rezone requests are for, we'll basically took them up in Planning and Zoning Commission as one vote. Each one's contingent on the other one. They have to do with the lots on either side of the entrances to Tumbling Creek subdivision. That's at the intersection of 172 and Highway 72 on the east side of Colbert. Mr. Swan is requesting for Stephen and Valerie Fennell to rezone these lots from B to R1 for a portion of Phase 2 of the Tumbling Creek subdivision. There's three lots, and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended 7-0 for the Board of Commissioners to approve these rezone requests.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, so we're going to take into consideration all three rezones for these three parcels. So anybody that would like to speak in favor of this rezone request from 4.65 acres from B to R1? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Victor Johnson for Adam Swan. Mr. Swan, the rezone hearing in Oak Brook County for Phase 2 of Pine Ridge. That's Bill 3. No, this is, you should have an updated site plan showing 17 lots. He had redrawn what was initially applied. That is the rezone of a similar piece of property from business to R1 on a highway frontage at White Landing, which was done in June of 2016, and I thought that plat might help put this into context. Valerie Fennell owns the property here at Tumbling Creek. Her husband, Stephen Fennell, had developed the property with Harold Golding and Sonny Dinsmore back in 2002 to 2004, at which time it was rezoned from A1 and business to R1 for residential subdivision. Ms. Fennell needs to sell the property to raise funds out of her husband's estate. The contract that Mr. Swan and his business partner with Swan Lee Development has is to purchase the business property, this 26.51 acres, depending on it being rezoned to R1, plus 16 of the lots that are already in Tumbling Creek subdivision. Mr. Swan would like to make this Phase 2 of Tumbling Creek subdivision. He has met with Julie Fields, the head of the Tumbling Creek Property Owners Association, and several of the lot owners in Tumbling Creek to address concerns they may have. If the property is rezoned, he would put this property under the same protective covenants that are currently at Tumbling Creek, which has a, I believe, 1,650 square foot minimum. A 50-foot setback from the right-of-way under the covenants, even though it's 40 feet under and 30 feet, depending on what kind of road you have, under the county laws. And this is requested because the property has been zoned business for years. Some of this property was already zoned business by Mr. Golding sometime in the late 90s, before Tumbling Creek was rezoned in 2002. And there has never been any interest in any business use on the property that fronts on the highway. None of the lots would be accessed from Highway 72. As shown on the revised site plan, which actually shows 17 lots, although the surveyor forgot to change the total area information from 16 to 17. There may not be 17 lots developed. It depends on how the land works. But the revised site plan shows a proposed 17 lots between the existing Tumbling Creek and the highway. This is in an area that's designated in the Madison County Comprehensive Plan, the 2008 map amendment, as areas of significant development, and it was designated areas of rapid development all the way from Culver across. I've only got 2 copies of these because my color printer's dying out, but that's the 2008 plan showing that whole area between Hall and Culver is an area that was experiencing rapid development. It's in compliance with the current zoning ordinance in that the area already has high-density residential use to the west. The Tumbling Creek subdivision actually abuts against Kingston Greens, which is a pre-zoning subdivision in Madison County. And there are 5 or 6 subdivisions in the immediate area, many of which have less than 1 acre lots. Mr. Swan is recommending larger than 1.5 acres to 1.5 acre lots. There is a flag lot with a private drive, which was necessary in order to fit the number of lots in. That private drive would be owned by those 3 lot owners, and they would have a private maintenance agreement to maintain the road. The Tumbling Creek property owners would not be responsible for maintenance of that private drive. The roads are already county roads. The property can't be economically developed in a feasible manner the way it's currently zoned because it has been vacant for over 20 years. And it's a significant detriment to Mrs. Fennell because she can't use the property. If it is rezoned, it can be used for residential development to join the adjoining subdivision. And so we're requesting that the rezone be allowed so that Mr. Swan's company can purchase the property and the other 16 lots from Ms. Fennell. Those of you who may not be familiar with Adam Swan, he's been doing development and residential subdivision work in this area for over 10 years. He started the Cypress Wood subdivision that was approved by this board in 2016 off of McKinnon Morris Road for Site Enhancement, Inc., and he has also done other subdivisions in the area. I have more that I can say, but I will not, and I'll answer your questions instead.
All right, thank you, Victor, I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak in favor of this rezone? Is there anybody that would like to speak in opposition to this? Seeing none, I'll ask one last time if there's any parting comments from in the affirmative to approve this. If anybody has any questions of Victor as well at this time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll close that portion of the hearing and open the business meeting. The motion would be to approve, as they're listed on the agenda, items 3, 4, and 5 of the rezones. These 3 parcels of 4.65, 16.7, and 5.16 acres from B to R1.
So moved, Chair.
Okay, questions regarding the rezone?
Just make a statement. Just take note, this barrier will be gone between them and Living Chicken Houses now. So,
Chicken houses are already there.
No.
And there's a one across the road.
no
Both
complaint.
sides, and more chicken houses.
Right. No complaint, no running. Where the wind blows.
Well, there can be that, it's just it probably won't have much standing at that point, so. Any further questions or comments on this? I have a motion and a second to approve the rezone from 26.51 acres from B to R1. The vote is to Commissioner Peppel.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Houston.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, that's all of the rezone requests for now. We have 6 amendments. The first one deals with sections 7.1.2.11 and section 7.2.2.9. We've been going through our ordinances and looking for anything that needs to be clarified, changed, and this was one thing that came up. In the ordinances as they stand now, it lists event hall, provided that conditions of Article 9 are met, and that the event hall is a separate accessory structure smaller than the main dwelling. Well, we started looking at what that was required, and there were no conditions in Article 9 that we had to meet. So we just took that sentence out and left the words event hall in both of those sections. The vote was 7-0 to approve. I believe that was the, yes, 7-0 to recommend approval.
Okay. And just so you folks know, we follow the same protocol in any of these changes, so I'll ask for those in favor or opposition, and I'll give the petitioner the last opportunity. Is there anybody that would like to speak in favor of this change? Is there anybody that would like to speak in opposition to this change? And we're back to in favor of. Anyone? All right. Seeing none, we'll close that portion. We'll open up the business meeting again. Be entertaining a motion to approve that the resolution be adopted to amend sections, and this is 7.1.2.11, correct?
Yes, sir, and 7.2.2.9.
0.9.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve. I have a second. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, Commissioner Allen.
Yes.
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 Very good.
Mr. Chairman, the next amendment deals with section 6.6.3. Section 6.6 deals with storage and parking of RVs, trailers, and other vehicles. Do all of you have a copy of the?
Yes, sir.
The 2 paragraphs that are highlighted in red is what is being added to this section. Deals with a travel trailer, RV, or tiny house on wheels shall not be considered a dwelling unit and shall not be allowed as a principal or accessory residential structure in any zoning district. It states in the state of Georgia, the tiny houses are a recreational vehicle and must be tagged as all other recreational vehicles. The recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission was a 7-0 to recommend approval of this amendment.
All right. Is there anybody present that would like to speak in favor of this proposed change, this amendment?
Point of clarification.
Sure. Would you just so we keep our wires straight here. I know you're
Mike Bush, and I live up on 29 Highway, 1805 29 Highway North. And I just would like a point of clarification about what is being proposed. I'm not sure I'm tracking with what's been presented.
So,
I guess I'm asking the question because I have an Airstream trailer and I'm not using it for a home, but I was just.
right. So there's other Madison County code that talks about, there are different sections that deal with different aspects of recreational vehicles and what have you. This particular section is the only one that's drawn into play tonight. There are other sections that speak to having one on your premise, as long as you have a primary residence on your premise. That none of that, and then there are also ordinances that speak to hardship. None of those are being brought into play. It's strictly this one section, and it really is to emphasize or to add the language of tiny houses primarily, so that there's a I don't want to say proliferation, but they're faddish, they're out there, and they're being pushed for sale. We just want people to be aware that according to our code, they'll be treated like a camper and an RV, and all those rules will apply to them. This is a
So if you have a primary residence and you're parking your RV on the residence, that's not an issue?
It is not an issue.
Okay, thank you.
There is some language in there, though, in that section that suggests it should probably be on the back side, but for that's a separate issue, though, than this.
Like I said, this was just for to address the tiny houses that are popular.
Is there anybody else would like to speak in favor of this resolution? Is there anybody that would like to oppose it? One last time, anybody wants to speak in favor of? If not, we will now close that portion of our meeting. We'll come back to the business portion. The motion will be to, I guess we're adopting a resolution that amends section 6.6.3 of the zoning ordinances. Motion to approve, Chairman. I have a motion to approve.
Second?
I have a second. Is there any discussion on this item?
You answered my questions. Because I know Mr. Jim had an issue about hardship, and you said that, so.
All right, not addressed in this
That's
one.
cool.
Yeah, none of that's affected. I would point out in this last sentence, I think we still have to, we're talking about anything that's on wheels. Usually when this has come up in places where I've read about it, it's about minimum square footages, which are totally up to local government to set, and we don't have a minimum square footage. So if you wanted to build a 200 square foot house according to building code on a foundation, still, that's fine. That's not a recreational vehicle.
All right. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve this resolution to amend section 6.6.3. Vote goes to Commissioner Strickland.
Yes.
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 The next amendment deals with adding a definition to Article 3 of our ordinances. Definition is for a stack house. We discussed this and bounced ideas back and forth and argued about what the definition should be, and basically get fairly simple that a stack house is defined as a structure used for temporary storage of animal waste. And the recommendation for the Planning and Zoning Commission was a vote of 6-0 for approval of this.
Did you state in there whether it
it has to be enclosed, or is it open, or two ends open?
We discussed all of those, and there's so many variations of the stack house. We try to keep it just as simple as we could.
So we've got some things going on now that might be involved in it. I don't know if it would.
This is for letter stack houses, built to specifications at the time, by the USDA or whoever the money's coming from.
Yes, sir.
I guess it wouldn't really be, they're not gonna be enclosed.
No, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Not my understanding if they would be.
Okay.
All right. So anybody that'd like to speak in favor of this resolution amending, actually adding the definition of the stack house? Is there anybody that opposes this?
I just have a question.
Okay. It's Diane, right? Okay.
So, with the stack house, is that already in there is where they can be located? That doesn't affect where they can be located?
Right. Well, there exists current zoning guidance on setbacks and land, how the property is to be used. So if we make reference to a stack house, or as a type of storage facility, but we really haven't. This is kind of a housekeeping item. It's actually putting in place a definition of a stack house, so that we can remove, and actually not remove, to clarify when we make reference to something that they can actually go find it defined somewhere. So this is only about defining it. The use, the location, and things like that are already specified though. Does anybody like to speak in opposition? Okay, we'll go back. One last chance to speak in the affirmative. Seeing none, we'll close that portion and come back to the business meeting, and I'll be looking for approval, motion to approve the resolution, which adds the definition of a stack house as a structure used in temporary storage rental house.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Is there any discussion on this item? Okay, seeing none, vote Commissioner Bettis.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Mr. Chairman, the next amendment deals with section 7.1.11. And it deals with adding a sentence to what is already in there. And basically it talks about related products and commodities, and then it basically identifies that those products and commodities are items that are grown or raised on farms, such as plants, vegetables, poultry, livestock, aquatic life, hay, grain, and seeds. That's just for adding that one sentence to the section. The recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board was a vote of 6-0 to recommend approval of this addition to that section.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask if there's anybody that's here that would like to speak in favor of adding this, the verbiage to 7.1.1.11. Does anybody like to speak in opposition to it? One last chance. Anybody want to speak in favor? Riveting stuff, I know. All right, seeing none, I'll go ahead and close this portion of the meeting. We'll come back to the discussion and vote on this. The motion will be to approve the resolution banning the single sentence, items grown or raised on a farm, such as plants, vegetables, poultry, livestock, aquatic life, hay, grains, and seeds. And this would be added to section 7.1.1.11.
So moved, Chair.
All right, I have a motion to approve this.
Second.
There is a second. Is there any further discussion or comments on that item?
No, sir.
All right. Commissioner Pepper?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, the next amendment deals with adding specific uses as a conditional use in the industrial zoned areas. This would allow Board of Commissioners to take into consideration the individual specific request. When this amendment was initially drawn up, we were prohibiting all of these areas from even being in the county. So we discussed it quite at length about, do we really want to do that and prevent businesses from coming into the county? And you can tell by looking at some of the things that are down here that there's quite a bit of possibilities of fire, explosions, caustic chemicals, and stuff like that. But we did want to come up with a list that would prevent businesses from at least exploring moving into our county and the county benefiting from that. So we decided to make them conditional uses in industrial zones. And we met with several of the fire chiefs and talked with about their response to any incidences that may occur. And they said that their responses would be basically limited to what they were trained to do, and we wouldn't really know what was going on until the incident actually presented itself. But if one of these type industries applied to come into the county, it would give us a little bit of, leeway into what comes in based on some of the criteria that business would be presenting the county with, as far as dangers, chemicals, things like that. Wouldn't have to be approved just on the application. It could be approved on conditions that were met and approved by the Board of Commissioners. The Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation was a vote of 6-0 to recommend approval of this amendment to the zoning ordinances. It'll lose you.
This is conditional use in
Industrial.
an area of zoned industrial.
Yes, sir.
All right, I think I understand. Thank you, Morris.
Yes, sir.
All right. I'll ask if there's anybody that would like to speak in favor of approving this resolution, which just further outlines some specific uses that can be considered as conditional uses in industrial zone areas. Is there anybody that would like to speak in favor of that? All right. Is there anybody that wants to oppose it? One last shot at anybody that would like to speak in favor of this resolution. Seeing none, we'll close the portion of the meeting and come back for some discussion and vote on this. The motion then would be to approve a resolution amending section 7.9.2 to list the inclusion of these items that are in front of you.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a second. Is there any questions or comments on this?
I'll just give the answer I just gave to a couple of y'all here. There's already in your zoning ordinance, I think in chapter 14, a list of the criteria that you use to evaluate whether or not to grant a conditional use permit in a zone, and it's exactly the sorts of things that Ms. Houston just said. You take into account the unique circumstances surrounding the area, fire protection, all that sort of thing, and do it on a case-by-case basis, but with some objective criteria. So that's already in place.
Very good. Any further discussion on this? So the motion will be to approve the resolution amending section 7.9.2 of our zoning ordinance to include these conditional uses. I have a motion and a second. The vote goes to Joe, you?
I don't know.
I've lost my place.
That's right.
Actually, I believe it's
Yeah.
Commissioner Bettis.
Yes.
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 Thank you. All right.
Okay, do that too.
The last amendment deals with adding a paragraph to section 14.2.4, and it will be 14.2.416. This provides guidance on things to consider in evaluating a rezone request. It just gives some more criteria and things to look at when rezone requests are presented to the Board of Commissioners. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted 6-0 to recommend approval of this amendment to the ordinances.
Thank you. All right. We have a resolution to amend our zoning ordinance. The inclusion of an additional paragraph under section 14.2.4. Anybody like to speak in favor of it? We'll try. Would anybody like to speak in opposition to it? Seeing none, one last chance. Anybody? I guess if nobody speaks in the first time, I probably don't even have to ask that third time. But we're trying to be all inclusive here, so.
As soon as you don't, somebody else say they didn't have to.
Right. So, last chance. Anybody want to speak in the affirmative? Seeing none, we'll close that portion and open up the business portion of our meeting and take a final vote on these amendments. The motion would be to approve the resolution, to adopt the resolution, which amends paragraph 14.2.4 with the addition of point 16, listing these additional criteria as factors during a rezone consideration. I have a motion to approve. To approve, Chair. I have a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a second. Is there any discussion? All right. With that, the vote goes to Commissioner Pepple.
Yes.
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 Very good. I believe that concludes the...
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mark. All right. Item 5 on your agenda, statements and remarks from citizens on the agenda items. We have 2, items 6 and 7. If anybody would like to speak, make a comment on those 2 items. Please.
Good evening. I'm Angela Bush, Chair of the Republican Party here in Madison County, and I'd like to thank you for your flexibility in having this item on this week's agenda. It's greatly appreciated. I would also like to note that Mike Mathis is currently serving on the election board. He began his term to fulfill an unexpired term of the previous member back in March of 2016, and the party would be delighted to see him have an opportunity to have a full term on this board. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. approve the Republican Party's nominee, Mike Mathis, to fill a 4-year term on the Board of Elections.
So moved. Motion to approve.
We got a motion to approve, I have a second. Any discussion on that? Any questions or comments?
Good job.
Wow, that's quick. Seeing none, we'll take the vote. Commissioner, yes.
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 All right. I'll do it.
Really did it.
All right. Last business item is to consider a resolution to amend sections 10.6, 10.7, and 10.11 of the Madison County ordinance. This ordinance has to do with Madison County's Animal Control Board. And the motion would be to, well, you have a copy of the resolution in each of your packets. The motion would be to approve the resolution first. We've got two parts to this. The motion would be to approve the resolution to amend those sections, and then we'll take a separate motion then to actually dissolve the Madison County Animal Control Board. And one last editorial before we take this vote, I do want to let you know, as you see here, the probate court. There's been coordination already. The probate court has willingly taken on this additional process of hearing a case on from somebody who wants to present a case in defense of perhaps a charge against an animal that has been, I don't know if you detain animals, but if one has been charged with
Animal owner, we charge the owner.
The owner, there you go. So it gives them recourse though to appeal that, and we have done that through a separate board in the past. Probate is that they're already there. This is right in line with their purpose. So we're looking for efficiency and again just to streamline. So again, the motion would be to approve the resolution to amend sections 10.6, 10.7, and 10.11.
So moved, Chairman.
Second. I have a motion and a second to approve.
Mr. Chairman, this information I have here says the Madison County Board of Commissioners has determined that it would be in the best interest of the citizen to amend the Madison County Animal Control Ordinance as codified in Chapter 10 of the Madison County Code of Ordinances. I'm sure there's a reason for changing the wording on this, but this is the first I've heard about it, and I didn't determine anything on this. But
well, that would be the resolution that you would be agreeing to tonight. I mean, that is the resolution that is to be considered.
This first information I had seen on it. I'm sure there's good reason for changing the wording on it, but I didn't know anything about it.
And I can, if I go into just a little background, Sergeant Gray that handles all the animal control, I believe this was suggested by her. Sometimes there's a very limited period of time you have to set these hearings up and hold them, and with a citizen board, it's sometimes hard to get all those people together to have the hearing in the time frame. And Judge Cross volunteered and said he'd be willing to do it, and the code was actually amended, Georgia code, some years ago to allow the probate court to do that in lieu of having that citizen board. So that's the background.
Okay. There's 7 people on that citizen board, I believe. It's hard to fill those positions.
Yeah.
And they meet once a year. Just because they have to.
Okay. So I have a motion. Is there any other discussion? Again, this is the first part, was just to amend the resolution. Any further discussion on it? Okay, Commissioner Strickland?
Yes.
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 Okay. So now we've amended those sections, we need to dissolve the board, so the next motion would be to approve this dissolving Madison County Animal Control Board.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Is there any discussion or comments on that? All right. Seeing none, vote is to Commissioner Bettis.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Any urgent matters tonight? All right, folks, statements and remarks from citizens. I have to tell you, I ain't prepared for that one.
We've got to work for this, might as well go on.
There you go.
I think you all need to read them.
Step past and get out of here. We get out of here.
No need for executive session.
No, sir.
All right, so motion to adjourn? I have a motion.
Second.
And I second. Commissioner Pepple?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you all.